Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Nancy, Smokehouse. It's the urban heat. Shout out to Coach Live.
Coach LA's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just calling. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La. If you got something on your mind, you can call in, you can hit a line. She the realest, ooh, she the realest. You can tap in, I will always get the business to empower you so that you can do every and anything that you want to. Kicking it with Coach LA's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just calling. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La La La. How y'all feeling on this Sunday? It's feeling real good. It's feeling real nice. I'm excited. I'm always excited, but I feel like, it's like mid-May. The weather is better. Summertime is, popping. This is my favorite season. I just came off a wonderful event where I hosted She Got Jokes with Top 25 over at the Dublin House this past weekend. Shout out to Big Mama Badass and Duchess S&S and Dorothy came through. It was a great time. It was ladies' night, and they showed up and they showed out. So just want to give a big shout out to all of the beautiful people who came and supported that event. So it's another episode of Conversations with Coach La La La, and we're about to get on this virtual couch. Now, a lot of people give social media and Instagram, Facebook, they say it's not real. They tell you, it's not a real place and all this good stuff. But let me tell you something. It's as real as it's going to be. We all got different sides of ourselves that we showcase, no matter if you meet someone face to face or online or at work or in a bar, different places, different spaces. Hopefully, overall, your character and your integrity is the same, but not everybody gets all the same versions of you. So I say all that to say, I have been really blessed to meet some dope people via social media. And this next guest that I'm bringing on is a poet that I've been admiring because of her voice, her poise, and just the strength. I mean, she's like Sister Soldier wrapped up all in one with Sojourner Truth and a little bit of I'm trying to think of who else, Maya Angelou, and then you add a little bit of Jill Scott and all of that up in there, right? Like she got vibes. She got lots of vibes. So she is a Black American educator. She's an activist, an international award-winning spoken word poet from Bronx, New York. That's right, baby. She ain't even in Boston. So y'all know I told y'all I done went national and stuff. I got people coming from all over, right? She has been featured at prominent venues such as the world-famous Apollo Theater, as well as colleges, universities across the country and globally. Oh yeah, the sister's bad. She is a 3-time Women of the World Poetry Slam finalist, a 2-time Bronx Poet Laureate finalist, and the 2015 Syracuse University Poet of the Year. She also has created, she is the inaugural UMass Amherst W.E.B. Du Bois Center Poet in Resident. Sister, I told y'all she bad. She also is the co-producer of the annual Regional Youth Poetry Slam in Western Massachusetts. She's the founder of the annual Black Artistic Freedom Conference at UMass Amherst, and she's the head coach, okay, of the first ever undergraduate poetry slam team at UMass Amherst. And in January 2025, she was featured on 4 episodes of America's favorite game show, The Family Feud. Not only that, the sister she's smart. She's smart. You know, she's a graduate of public relations at Syracuse University, master's degree recipient of NYU Steinhardt, and a current social justice education PhD student, baby, at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where she's studying the intersections of art and activism through critical hip hop pedagogy. Her work has been featured on NPR, iHeartRadio, Button Poetry, Right About Now Poetry, Huffington Post, Black Voices, and News 12, The Bronx. Baby, we're going to give it all the way up, okay? So also, I want to play a clip. So y'all know I got a clip. So let's check this out real quick, and let me just get this together for you so you can hear this.
Respond to the men who take me out, tell me I'm pretty, then ask if I am just black. Well, I'm black mixed with black, so I guess that make me black. Like Afro-American, like my ancestry be slave black, like they slaved all day and picked cotton so you could wear that tacky ass shirt on your back black, like transatlantic trade black, like we always late black, like we only late because if we die today, this gonna be our ghost outfit for the rest of our days, like auction block black, like picnic black, like you won't make it to the march if you caught up at the sit-in black, like 3,446 lynched and you ain't never known a black mother who ain't prayed for her kids. We open casket black, we close case, we afraid at night because they trafficking in my neighborhood, and if you look like me, you ain't safe. And as I sit here and ponder the answer to your stupid ass question with my resting bitch face, well, we still waiting on reparations, so I hope you paying for this date. What's good, y'all? I'm Lyrical Faith. How y'all feeling?
Hey. So without further ado, can we please welcome my sister, my poetic sister, Miss Lyrical Faith, to Conversations with Coach La La La. What up, sis?
Peace and blessings, Coach La La La. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to the show. Powerful sister, powerful voice. Every stage that you have set your beautiful presence on, you blaze it, okay? You blaze the mic, you drop it, as we call it, like, okay, let it be done. It's on fire every time, right? And I have just loved listening to your poetry because it's, as you said, it's artivism. And it's always got a message in it, and it makes you think. But beyond what I read about you, and beyond just what people can search for on social media, who is Lyrical Faith?
Woo.
Yes, honey.
Going deep.
Yeah, I want to know who you is like, since they want to say social media fake and stuff, like I want to know some stuff other people don't know, kind of, lay it on us.
Wow.
I wasn't sure if I could even put out your government, so I was like, I ain't gonna tell the government, but y'all could Google it unless she want to tell you her government.
You can definitely Google it. But Lyrical Faith is first and foremost, I am a daughter, right? I'm a sister. I am an auntie. I am a granddaughter. My mother, I'm a third generation person who is passionate about education. I'm a third generation master's degree recipient. My grandmother was an educator. She's from my mom's side of the family is from South Carolina, and we're Gullah Geechee. And then my dad's side, we're actually Indigenous, Native American, and Black. All together, I'm Black.
Black, blacker than black.
Black. You feel me? That poem, Fun Back, was just inspired by, growing up. I'm often, just oftentimes different I would get all these different comments from men, from guys about like, how I look, and just kind of trying to guess, this whole guessing game of like, where I'm from, or no, but where are you really from, and where are your people from, and your family from, because you look like you kind of exotic, and like just these comments like that, and I'm just like, man, if y'all don't shut up, man.
Out my face.
Black.
All the way out my face with all of that, but
all the way out my face, man.
all
Like
the way out my face.
like you guessing everything but black, and I'm just
Right.
like,
Why can't I just be black? Just black. Just
you
black.
know what I'm saying?
And you have Southern roots. I heard you say you were Geechee. My son's father is from Andrews, South Carolina, and that's the first time I really heard about the term Geechee. That's that rural South, like you deep down in there where they be doing, rituals and stuff, and it's just a whole nother kind of space. They believe in all. Listen, they believe in all of the hocus pocus, and don't put your bag on the floor because you don't have no money and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm from where they call Low Country. My grandmother and all of her siblings, her 12 siblings, I believe. My grandmother, her 12 siblings, they grew up on an island that we're from down in South Carolina in the Low Country. So I'm very actually connected to my Gullah Geechee roots and my family in that way. And so, who am I? Right. I'm just I'm a fun loving person. Also, someone who is, very serious about my business and serious about my work. But I'm also a very unserious personality sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I like to joke around. I like to have fun. I actually recently, I know that we, talked about, my poetry stuff, but I recently, for fun, started writing jokes for comedy.
Well, that's something that I did not know. I always like getting the tea. You know how they say they clock that tea. I be getting all my little, my son don't think I'm that cool. My family think I'm corny, but I know some stuff, clock that tea.
Right, exactly. So stuff like that, and that's stuff that you would only know if you were talking to me. Like, I do have a few friends who do know about it, and I will try out and hit up some open mics and stuff like that. But first and foremost, ultimately, I'm a writer, right? I'm a writer, and somebody who is passionate about writing, and I feel like writing truly saved my life. It's been a funnel of my just kind of like my innermost feelings and thoughts and emotions. And oftentimes I think we go through life and we feel like it's very easy for us to essentially like bottle those things up when we don't have the proper outlets. And I think exploring and knowing yourself and finding yourself and stepping into your voice and stepping into your power is a part of finding that creative outlet that will allow for you to kind of, or just finding that outlet period that will allow for you to let those things out. And so that's something that, I am, I fell in love with writing and performing when I was 12. And so I've been writing and performing for over 15 years now, almost close to 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yeah, it's just stuff like that, hobbies. I do actually enjoy something that people don't really know about me that much, but I do enjoy picking up a pair of skates and going skating from time to time. I'm trying to get better.
I bought a pair of purple skates during the pandemic and messed around, tried to put them things on in the house because there was this sister when we was during the pandemic that used to skate around her house. Baby, I learned real quick, don't be messing around with no skates. I almost bust my entire butt and crashed into something right in my house. And I was like, okay, so somebody said I need to tighten the wheels. But yeah, that was not a good look. Those skates and my hardwood floors did not go well together. But I did attempt to try to skate around my house. And after that, I learned a very hard lesson. I was like, yeah, I won't do that again. I'm too scared. I literally got up, tried, and was on my butt real quick.
Wow.
And it hurt.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and if you see me ever attempting to skate backwards, that's almost me sometimes, which is why.
But I'm gonna go tighten the wheels and see how that works out. So, should I call you Lyrical Faith? Which one? You like the whole thing put together? Like how does go?
We can do Lyrical Faith.
Lyrical Faith all together. So Lyrical Faith. Let me tell you a little something about season 7. So season 7 has been broke up into series. So you were actually part of part 2 of the series, but we started off talking about the barriers that impact us being able to heal, grow, and transform. So that's what we did. Now we're in the self-work. So the reason why I wanted you to come on the show, because you kind of touched on it, is writing for a lot of people is connected to self-work, right? Doing that mirror work, doing that writing, journaling, putting your story down and taking control of your narrative. And one of the things I think you do really, really well is taking some really complex topics like the Roe versus Wade, right? You did a poem called, I think it was Wade Martyr, right? And did I get that title right?
Wade in the Martyr.
Wade in the water, yes. And so I was like, okay. And then recently with this whole burning down of this plantation, the last one, you have a piece on that as well that you just recently posted on her Instagram. So y'all got to go check that out. I don't know if she gonna bust no poetry tonight, but that's a kind of long piece too. So she may not do that for y'all. But you've been really good about taking those topics that I think really hit home for a lot of people of color and putting them into your poetry and then like making us think about it and also making it entertaining, right? Because you get a lot of claps and oohs and ahs. How has that played into just your development of self and your identity, your writing?
How has that played into my development of self? I think that writing for me, I think the question is more like, how hasn't it played into it? I think that writing for me has been my safe place. I think that I don't really know where I would be today if I had not decided to kind of commit myself to creating and to just kind of like letting out those thoughts and emotions. Like no cap, like there would be like when we were younger and when we were in middle school and stuff like that, you would always hear about people keeping like diaries. And, you know, I think I did also have like some type of diary where you're just kind of like writing things down, like in the sense of your journaling. But then I had a whole separate notebook where whatever I would write down as a quote unquote diary entry would then kind of transition into a poem. And I would actually just write the thoughts as poems instead. And so I just have all of these notebooks of just poems that were diary entries. And so I think that growing up, right, I'm the youngest of 6 siblings. All right. I always kind of felt a little bit, you know, more of a misfit. I think that actually, I'm grateful for that, because I think that being a misfit kind of works in my favor, because I've learned to embrace being a misfit. I've learned to embrace not fitting into one particular box. And I think that kind of shows up in the way that I choose to do my work, in the way that I choose to pursue my scholarship, even in the types of pop culture that I choose to like consume, right? I always like the most kind of like the unpopular thing to like, right? And I'm totally fine with that. And at first, I think that kind of, you know, made me feel like, oh, I'm the odd one out, but I'm okay with being the odd one out. And I think once you kind of learn yourself and you learn to embrace your quirks and just all these things that kind of make us unique and make us who we are, I think that is truly when you kind of become more comfortable in your own skin. And so that's something that, you know, I've learned to grow with. But writing, I will say, has definitely helped me with that, because writing was a way to say, okay, well, if y'all don't want to listen to me, or people feel like my voice isn't valuable, or I don't need to be heard in these ways, then I can just put this in my book and I can share this with the people that actually want to listen, right? The people who are also writing, or the people that care about poetry, the people that care about things that I have to say in my writing. And those are the audiences that I'm gravitating towards, right? And those are the platforms. Writing gave me a platform. When I started writing when I was 12 years old, I was in middle school. And my 6th grade English teacher, she introduced spoken word poetry to us. And I created this poem. We had to create a poem for the end of the unit. And I created this poem. It was called, the title is so corny now, but it was called Poetry is Bubblicious, right? I don't know if you remember that gum.
I like it. Poetry is bubblicious. Listen, you was 12. He was 12. It makes sense.
I was 12. This was 06.
Right.
And so I think Bubblicious was like a gum. I don't know. Where is that gum? Is that gum somewhere? Anyway.
I think you still get it in some of the corner stores. Some of the bodegas probably got it.
There we go. All
Mhm.
right. So it was called Poetry is Bubblicious. And it was literally just like a whole poem, like popping my stuff about like how my poetry is and, you know, my poetry and my spoken word and my style and my flow and my this and my that, because that's what she made it to be, as far as like just introducing us to spoken word and how spoken word on the stage lives in a different way that spoken word on the page goes. And so she kind of like, you know, showed us these videos, and she showed us like, you know, these people that we, you know, saw their stage presence and their essence. And so I was kind of like utilizing that type of flow. And I was like, okay, so this is what we got to do if we want to, if we doing spoken word. And so I ended up performing that poem, my Poetry is Bubblicious poem.
Listen, I'm feeling that name. You know what I love? I too started writing, I think, in the 5th grade. And the difference is I don't think they introduced spoken word, though. It was more like the Raisin in the Sun, and sort of like you was reciting other people's poems. But I don't think we were really thinking about spoken word. I didn't get introduced to spoken word until college. I went to an event here in Boston called Afrocentrics that was created by Michael Curry. And that's where I really got exposed. And actually Love Jones, to be honest. Love Jones was another vehicle that really opened my eyes to like poetry. But I learned about spoken word in college. Prior to that, it was just written on a page. Nobody was really performing it. Spoken word was like, oh, this is dope. It was almost like thinking about a lyricist or rap, but it was poetry. And they had the band or they had the drums in the background. So I fell in love with it from 5th grade, but I really, really was like, okay, I rock with you hard in college. That's when I was like, okay. And I think that was where I think I didn't understand then what I know now, that it was therapy. As I became a psychotherapist, I thought about how poetry helped me back then find my voice, have confidence, and feel accepted. And that's when I said, you know what? I think poetry is a space that would help clients. So I created Poet Therapy and said I'll do my own open mics, because I didn't want it to be competitive. I wanted it to be healing, right? I didn't want it to be a slam, because I was like, okay, we got that already. But what about a space where you can just go and just talk your talk, and almost like church, right? Where, you know, you go up there and you sing and ain't nobody gonna say, you sound awful, sit down. They're gonna say, baby, go ahead, sing that song, baby, no matter how bad it is, right? So I wanted a space that literally helped people who needed to develop a voice or a presence feel accepted and not feel like it was that competitive, right? And then eventually a lot of people get more confident, and next thing you know, they come back and they're like whole different people because they got confidence now. Poetry gives you confidence. It really does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, for sure. So like, you know, before I knew it, you know, when I wrote that piece, and, you know, I was asked to do it in front of my principal at like the school, like meeting, the school event. Right. And then they were like, oh my gosh, you should do that in the talent show. And then I did that in the talent show that, you know, that end of that year. And then, you know, from there, and then I started doing well in my talent shows and my events. And then I did it in another talent show in the hood that I'm from that following year, right? When I was 13, and I won 2nd place in the talent show. And I only won 2nd place to like this amazing dance team. Like, and so, you know, it just continued to like really show me that, oh, my voice deserves to be on platforms. My voice, people want to hear it. My voice, people like it. People like what I have to say. And it just encouraged me to continue to write and sow into that and lean into that gift each and every day. And so now, you know, you can't tell me that this isn't like a gift from God, that this is not my calling, my purpose, that this is there's something saving, something healing in these poems, in these words that is bringing people together, that is breaking change, that is opening doors, right? Because if it wasn't right, then there wouldn't have been so many opportunities, you know, so many doors that have been opened for me because of this. And I'm an avid believer of kind of listening to my intuition, listening to what God is trying to tell me. And I do believe that if something is not for you, there will be some sort of roadblock or some sort of closed door or some sort of detour, right? Some sort of sign that's showing you like you shouldn't be going in that direction.
You gotta talk about it. That's so true.
Right.
And then what's your purpose? You might try to get away from it or not do it. And somehow things keep working out. You be like, I ain't doing this no more. I don't think this is for me. And next thing you know, someone calls you up and you get a performance that they want to pay you for. You get called to do something just when you about to be like, yeah, this ain't it. So I do think when it's your gift, it comes easy to you, natural to you. And it's even more beautiful when your gift is something that you also can get recognized and also make a living off of. I came across something that said, the statement is, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And then somebody flipped it and said, if you're doing what you love, you'll work at it all the time, day, night, sacrifice for it. You won't even think about it. And that's kind of true. So technically we do work a lot when it's something you love, but we don't feel like it's work. I don't feel like it's work.
Yeah. It's like you can't get away from it, right? Like,
you can't.
All the time you're thinking about new ways that you could create. You're thinking about, it's just something that's in you. It's within you.
It's
right?
in you. It's not on you. It's in you. You may take a pause, but somehow it'd be right back.
Yeah.
Right back. Like, hey, remember me? And an opportunity will come about. So tonight's conversation is about imposter syndrome. And one of the reasons why I think this is so important, especially for people of color, but more importantly, Black women, right? We struggle with confidence and not feeling good enough for multitude of reasons, right? A lot of it has to do with society, racism, microaggressions, and just the overall context in which we've coming into in America. And how have you navigated that, or has that even been a factor for you? Because it sounds like you just, one day you just this way. Were you always this way? Right? Like, I get the Bubblicious poem came about, but did you have to be nudged, or did you just naturally just say, yep, I got this, I'm gonna do it? And have you always felt this confident?
Always felt this confidence. No, confidence is something, of course, you have to work at. What's coming to mind for me right now is just like, yes, I did start writing and performing when I was 12. And that journey was, a constant daily effort of me just continuing to keep that book and continue with that writing and just connecting with different poetry spaces throughout my high school years and whatnot. Even though I wasn't directly connected to kind of like something through my school, right? I then got connected with things in my community in my high school years, co-founded the longest running open mic and showcase in Harlem, the Harlem Bomb Shelter, and then went on to college. And then when I was in college, I did join the poetry group, the poetry organization. Shout out to Verbal Blend. My mentor and the founder of Verbal Blend, Cedric T. Bolton, was a huge support system when I was in college. So I went to Syracuse University, the 6th out of 8th person in my family to go there. So I've always wanted to go there. It was my dream school. And I knew there was so much opportunity for me there. Syracuse is a very big school. It's a PWI, obviously. And it's easy to kind of, potentially get lost if you don't get involved and kind of find your footing and do your things. I was in Newhouse, which is the School of Public Communications. And oftentimes in Newhouse, you are like, one of just a handful or less Black people in the class and in your major. And so it is easy to kind of feel like you're in these rooms with these other students that have done so much more in their high school years before you and that know so much. And so it is easy to feel like a little fish in a big sea, and that, it is easy to feel that imposter syndrome. And that has come over me in different times in my work. Am I good enough? I changed my major 3 times when I was in college. Some people don't even know that. But ultimately, right, me connecting with Verbal Blend, the things that I did outside of my classroom is what kept me grounded. And so my mentor, Cedric T. Bolton, there were times where I was really just kind of telling him like, hey, of course I love doing, I love writing and performing, but I'm nowhere near as good as some of these other people in this program. Like, the upperclassmen would be killing it. There'd be poetry slams. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do the slam. I don't know if I could compete. And my mentor would just consistently pour into me, consistently remind me of who I am, that I'm good, that I have a gift, that I need to keep going, right? Consistently remind me like, hey, you can get paid for this in the future, right? Like, and that was the first time I had ever heard somebody pour into me like that. and tell me I could get paid for my poems. What, people want to pay me for this? And it was I was just like, are you serious? And then also, you know, just encouraging me to, you know, continue to do the slams and stuff like that. I was not somebody who wanted to compete at first. Competition can be intimidating and all of that, right?
Mhm.
And so when I got encouraged in that capacity, right, and I started to, you know, to participate in the slams in college, that then kind of changed and shifted my perspective and shifted my competitive spirit and really amped it up and really kind of, I think slam really definitely gives you a particular level of confidence, because you have to get up there and really show them this is what you got, right? Because you're trying to get the scores, right? You're going up against other people. And so, yeah, I do think that, you know, yes, imposter syndrome definitely has existed, but B, right, like having mentors. I believe I'm such a huge advocate of mentorship, because I really do believe, like, without that person, that's that cheerleader, that's that coach, that guiding voice in the background that's really telling you, you know, you can do this. When you have that little voice inside of you that's telling you, no, you can't do this, right? That person that's like, no, actually you can. That's really kind of what helped to build me up. And I think what helps to build anybody up in their journeys as well. Like, you definitely need that person in your corner.
I think you just, you know, while you were talking, I didn't want to jump in, so I was actively listening. But mentor, that's, people don't realize the importance of mentors, coaches, therapists, just different people. There's an actor, I cannot remember his name, and he was talking about therapy was like having your coach. If you were in a boxing ring, that's your coach in the corner that's able to, you know, tell you when you get hit and you come out of that round, and they're like, yo, watch out, you know, for the body shots, watch out for, you know, make sure you're blocking your face because they keep getting you. So they help you and give you guidance on how to get back in the fight, right? And hopefully not to get hit, right? And to block some of the shots that's coming for you. But imposter syndrome, for those that don't know, right, is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. And I think what's hard about that, and why I think it hits us, especially people of color and women, is because of microaggressions. It's because often you can have the best resume, the best pedigree, and often still get looked past, don't get the promotion, don't get the raise, don't get the accolades. And I think when that happens to you repetitively, you can start to question your own self-worth, right? If you've been in unhealthy relationships or you didn't have the best parenting, right? You can doubt your self-worth. And when you said mentors and support system, those can be both helpful or detrimental. You can have people who can make you lose confidence, or they can help you build confidence. So what are some of the things that you've done for yourself to maintain that in absence of mentors, when that little voice comes and says, you know what? Yeah, you ain't ready. You ain't good enough.
I think that some of the things that help me in absence of mentor, well, first and foremost, though, the people who have mentored me, right, have sown into me in a way that has provided some sort of, some sort of foundational work of confidence, right? And so when you have those experiences and when you know that there are people that are rooting for you, you feel that much better about moving forward in your purpose, moving forward in your path. And so that's number one, right? I feel like it is definitely all kind of like a circular just kind of like cycle, right? Of when people pour into you, you now feel more empowered to pour into other people. And so for myself, I think personally, like, I have to tap into, I think getting to know yourself is a really big deal, right? Well, as we're talking about mental health, I was actually just having this conversation with a friend the other day, but really getting to know yourself, like really spending time with yourself to know the things that you like, the things that you don't like, and treating yourself well, right? Like treating yourself like the soft life you deserve. You know what I'm saying? Like if you know what I'm saying, making sure that you keeping up with your regular appointments, your grooming, your nail. Like you don't catch me without a nail appointment, okay? Your hair your hair appointments. Like I said, going to the gym, that's been a huge game changer in my life, period, right?
Right.
Making that extra time for yourself, going to the spa, right? I regularly will work on, like, you know, making sure that I'm like scheduling some type of massages and facials and things like that. I think that those things are, and then of course being in therapy, those things are really getting to know yourself, really being able to process through your thoughts, and then just also setting aside the time that you have for yourself to check in, because life can be stressful, right? I know that I am experiencing and incurring very stressful situations all the time, being in school and whatnot. And so I think being intentional about spending that time with yourself, right? So that you can dress up, look good, smell good, feel good, right? You know what I'm saying? Those things will help you to radiate when you go out into the audiences and the spaces and the meetings and the jobs that you have to be in, whatever it is, right? You are radiating that you have done the work on the inside. And that is showing when you are able to communicate and effectively execute the things that you're doing on the outside.
I think that's true. I think it has to be a balance. Another influencer was talking about, you know, if you're doing all these self-care things, which, you know, Lyrical Faith just broke down a phenomenal self-care plan, self-care practices, right? Maintenance. But beyond that, right? What else are you doing in terms of your thoughts, your processing of your thoughts and emotions, managing your emotions and not reacting on every emotion that you have? And you have to marry the two, right? You need to be able to say, okay, I look good on the outside, but if inside you dress like this, but then in the inside you're saying, you know what? Yep, I'm stupid. I'm dumb. Yeah, you're not really that put together, or you know, you're turtling up in certain environments where you're scared to talk to people. It won't match, right? And then you also don't want to have this confidence that's only a facade, right? And that you really don't truly believe it. So you have to be able to have your receipts. And I think reading your bio, often, you know, we have great resumes and bios and people still don't feel like they deserve where they're at. Like they still have to like do more. Have you ever felt that pressure? Like, okay, yes, I got all of this, but it's still not enough. Cause I'm reading this. I'm like, you're getting a PhD, you're doing, you know, you already have degrees. And they say it's a hyper focus, especially for women of color, to constantly be seeking more and more accolades because we still don't feel like we've arrived or that we have enough. Have you ever felt that way?
Woo. Listen, all the time. All the time. I will not sit up here and act like that's not a real feeling, right? I am always, it's so funny to me, right? Because I get all these messages and, you know, DMs from people who I both know and people I don't know. I'm so proud of you. You're doing it. You're such an inspiration to me. And don't get me wrong, I am humbled and I am honored that anything that I do is inspiring to anyone else in any way. But at the same time, I'm always like, listen, this is not even my final form, right? I am so appreciative that you are looking at what I've done, but what I've done, right, has only been a building block and a stepping stone to what I have in mind, right? My favorite scripture in the Bible is 1 Corinthians 2:9. It's no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has for those who love him, right? And so I truly believe that should I be continuing on my calling and should I be continuing on my path in this thing that we call life, right? That there are things that will blow my mind that God has for me, and that I still need to do the work to allow myself to lean into that. Like I've not even, you know, gone through the smoke yet, right? And I'm still working towards that because I do truly believe that there are things that my eyes have not seen, that my ears have not heard, right? There are still goals that I know that I have on my vision board, like big goals that I know that I have not gotten close to yet, and I'm still climbing towards that, right? And those are things that are between me, my journal, and God, right? And so and those are the things that I'm like like, yo, I appreciate you saying that this is so inspiring, and thank you for congratulating me. But please congratulate me when I get this. Congratulate me when I go here, because I'm not even done yet. You feel me?
Right.
And that is truly what I mean when I say, like, I'm still wanting more.
Yes. So I have this, this piece, because a lot of people, when they listen to the replay, and again, shout out to everybody. Let me give y'all some love, because there's a lot of people that are tuned in from Facebook. Shout out to Opal. I see you, sis. Thank you so much for tuning in. So I want to make sure I give y'all some love. Leroy, thank you. Nina, thank you. I see y'all and everybody else on IG. I see you guys too. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch. Shout out to all y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in every week. For those that don't know, and you just for the first time maybe fell upon me, this is Coach La La La, your favorite around the way therapist, and you're listening to Conversations with Coach La right now on iHeartRadio, and this is the Urban Heat 98.1 FM. We are Boston's only Black-owned radio station that's on iHeartRadio. There's others, but not in Boston. So, it has me just thinking about seeking more, right? And so I'm in this space now where, yes, let's seek more and be grateful for what we've been blessed with right now. And yes, you can be in this space of still wanting more, but don't forget that at one point you weren't where you are, and to be able to sit and actually relish in your accomplishments, and that at some point the goals that you have achieved were just visions or ideas in your head that you said, you know what, I'm going to do. And you did. And you got to be like, yeah, good job, girl. You're doing a good job. And then that gives you that momentum for the next thing. I think that attacks imposter syndrome, right? When you take inventory of what you've done, your resilience, your hard work, and everything you've accomplished along the way, I think it's harder for imposter syndrome to come and get you, because you constantly building up like, nope, I did this, I did that. Good job. Wait, I had to do all those steps to do that. High five. So when it comes and says you didn't deserve it, it doesn't work, right? Because I think sometimes we're on autopilot and we're going so fast, and we don't give ourselves a chance to even relish in an accomplishment because we're already on to the next thing. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I truthfully agree with that as well. There is like a quote that I think floats around on social media that says, like, just please always remember that you are living in the middle of a prayer that you once prayed for. Yes. Right. And that is true. That is true. Right. I am, it does not fall on, it does not fall to the wayside. That I know that, currently, right, I'm pursuing my PhD. That is something that I've thought about, that I've prayed on, that I've tried to work towards for years, right? The idea kind of first entered into my mind actually from a professor when I was in college, in my undergraduate, I think probably in my junior year or maybe senior year. But she definitely told me that you should consider pursuing your PhD. I think that you would do very well in pursuing research. And I was just like, really? Like, just planted the seed. And then, as the years went by, right, I started to kind of see more and more, right, that was something that I was actually interested in doing. And so it doesn't fall on me that I'm actually living in the midst of something that a seed was planted on me 10 years ago, to think about like what I could possibly do with this degree, and what that even means, right? What type of work that I'm aiming to do within the community and both within the academy with this type of research and this type of work that I'm producing and that I'm creating and that I'm adding to when it comes to poetry and social justice and the arts, and when it comes to Black youth. And so I think all those things are very important to me as well. And so I am grateful for many of the things that I've already been able to do, but I always know that there's more work to do. And I think maybe that's impact spirit. Yeah, I think that's just maybe the activist spirit in me. Like, I just know that, just looking at where we are as at in this point in time, this particular point in time in our society, you know, what's happening in a you know, in this country right now, how, you know, there always become there's always a new level of urgency, a heightened level of urgency for the types of work that we can do, the unique place where we can put our voices and put our knowledge and put our skills at, and that can be applicable to making things better, to making changes in our current world. And I think that there will always be a new reason for that, because
Yes.
because we as a people still have, so we've come so far, but there's still so much further that we can go.
And that and you're nailing it. I think as long as human beings have the ability to have different perspectives, everyone is not getting the same messaging. Not everyone is challenging thought processes and doing critical thinking. So I think there's always space for new ways of reaching the masses and getting people to think about what they do and how it impacts the world around them, right? And that intersection of self and environment. One of the studies that I found was published by the Journal of Poetry Therapy, which I didn't even know that there was a journal called Poetry Therapy, right? But it found that creative writing and spoken word can significantly reduce anxiety and promote emotional resilience. So I feel like, so poet therapy, the idea of poet therapy was planted on my brain like 3:00 in the morning. And it was based on a poem done by Harissa, the traveling poet, where she embedded breath work and manifestation pieces into her poem. And when she was finished, I was like, yo, that was poet therapy. I was like, I never had seen someone sort of do it that way. And from then I sort of sat on it, and then I got that idea. And now I've been led to research, because nothing you think of is usually original, right? I've been led to research of people already looking into the intersection of poetry and words and journaling and how that helps with mental health. And I think part of it has to do with building one's capacity for understanding and dealing with complex thoughts and feelings and emotions, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of stuff that, how can you have joy and rage, right? Like, you're joyful about the things you accomplish, but then you're angry and you got so much rage about the things that are going on in your world. And for some people, that's a hard thing to have both things. You feel like you have to choose one over the other. What do you think about that?
Well, first and foremost, right, I think censoring joy is a radical act in and of itself, right? It's a radical act of, especially as a Black person, as a Black woman, right? Censoring joy, putting yourself and your joy first, is a radical act. There are entire systems, structures, and institutions that have been very foundational in the very fabric of this country that have been centered around destroying our joy, tearing our families apart, tearing apart, us, dismembering us, right? Dismembering us as human beings, as people. And so there's a very, there's a whole entire history attached to trying to rip us apart and break us down, right? And so as a Black woman, I think that it is very important and just black people in general, I think it's very important when we censor joy. I think I was just saying this to a group of my friends the other day, but I was just like, why we don't take nothing serious, right? Like, we don't like every time. And listen, you brought up the plantation earlier, right? Let's talk about it.
Did you see the young ladies that was out there taking selfies while it was burning down?
Selfies, okay, pouring the libations, okay. Yeah. All of the AI photos of the Juneteenth cookouts with the chair, with the folding chair.
I get, people try to take and reframe and take something that was negative and make it a positive. I think you posted a clip of a tour, and she was saying, the white lady was in so many words saying that there was a doctor that came and that the slave owner that owned it, bought whole families to keep them together. And he built, housing for them. And I'm like, she said, despite the conditions, they were treated as well as slaves could be treated. Like, this is part of her her tour language. And then I thought about all of the pictures and how well they kept, I mean, the mansion was kept pristine, like it was gorgeous inside.
Wait, in that same video, I know you've seen the black woman worker walking past her too.
Oh no, that was the other thing. She said some of the I don't know if she said ancestors. I might be, that wasn't the word. Still work there. And that's a good descendants. She said some of the descendants of the slaves still work here, and that's really a good thing.
And like they're doing.
She said it with a straight, just a straight face. It just felt like you was still back in the slavery times where you're like, oh, you know, well, we be treating them good though. We treat them good.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, give me some credit. Give me some credit. We are doing these Negroes a favor.
Right. But it's the irony of Juneteenth coming up. It's the irony of what's going on in the world, and with everything that is with the way things are going, and the authenticity of people saying what they believe, even if it's racist, is also allowing a certain level of us also saying our truth. I feel like there's a certain level of, although we don't like these truths, we needed to see that they still existed, because the way that we have set things up, people were able to go in the shadows with it and hide. And there's like a blessing in this in a lot of ways, because for those who thought it was gone and we had arrived, they're getting a rude awakening real quick that this is what we've been trying to tell y'all all along.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I mean, and listen, don't get me wrong, I only brought that up as an example of like why we don't take that serious, but it's just hilarious how we took that moment and we are literally reposting it, dancing all over it, taking selfies. And I think that is a form of joy, because that's like, hey, the ancestors are getting their lick back. Okay. And so, but even outside of that, and it's funny because I only see kind of like my black timelines. I don't know what white timelines are saying about this plantation, but you know, they're probably saying,
I really don't.
So sad it is burning down. Okay, well, boo-hoo. But what I'm a huge museum connoisseur, and so I've actually visited the Whitney Plantation Museum in Louisiana. And so the Whitney Plantation Museum, their post was going viral the other day, because they were just pretty much talking about why we don't do weddings, why we don't do, you know what I'm saying? The Whitney Plantation Museum is specifically the only former plantation that is a site of memorializing and providing an actual representation of a description of what took place, the horrors and the treacherous of the treacherous times of the area, the era of enslaved peoples on that, who worked and lived on that plantation. And so it really shows and highlights the horrors and the evils that did take place at that time. And it allows for you to remember, it allows for you to engage and really kind of understand and raise awareness about what was taking place. And so the Whitney Plantation Museum is a great museum. I think if anybody goes down to Louisiana or New Orleans area, you should definitely support it, because that is the only site, the only former plantation site in the country, I believe, that is dedicated just to raising awareness about what took place during that time period. Whereas these other plantations, like the one that just burned down, were dedicated to resorts, to weddings, to spas.
He changed the name.
Right. Not a way resort. You know what I'm saying? Like this is some type of, you know, place of leisure and fun and high class activity for us to kind of just like, you know, go and just spend money to engage in, when there were real lives that were real bodies.
When I read that, he was the largest slave owner. He had 2,600 slaves. He was a banker, and he also was responsible for trying to get free slaves to go back to Africa, which now is part of Liberia. It was like the Mississippi, forgot the proper name for it. Y'all forgive me. But he was very instrumental during those times in slavery, but he made a lot of his money outside of slavery. So he was actually not for the whole Confederate. He was more for the Union, which is made him controversial, because the other slave owners was like, we need this. but he had his money already. So, again, it was always about money. We also have one here, the Shirley Utis house is another plantation space that we actually still have in Roxbury here that is functioning, that you can go and take a tour at. So can you believe it? I told you it goes fast. We're in the last 5 minutes of the show. I told you. She was like, oh my God. I was like, watch, it's going to go by so fast. So bet on self moments. That's when you take ownership of your story, your narrative, despite what somebody says about you, how you've been raised, what you've been told about yourself. And you say, you know what? If not now, then when? And if not me, then who? Do you have a current bet on self moment? Something that's in the works, or something that you want to share from the past that no one knows?
Okay, so this question for me was the hardest one. But I'm gonna take a moment to be pretty vulnerable here. I haven't actually shared this particular story too many places publicly, but yeah, I think that currently I'm in school, as I mentioned. I am, I do quite often experience very stressful situations, just kind of going through, trying to persist through my doctorate program, and also kind of being this professional spoken word artist. And I did talk about like self-care, things that I'm doing specifically for myself. And one of those things that I've been doing is really being consistent and taking the time to go to the gym every week. And that has been a huge game changer for me. It's been a huge game changer for me because quite literally, like, physical fitness and activity counters, anxiety, depression. Of course, it helps you with your self-esteem and your confidence and all of that. And a few years ago, 3 years ago, to be exact, I went to the doctor. And as a Black woman, as you know, we oftentimes get told that like any issues that we have are, not as serious, or you get downplayed in the doctor's office. And there's a particular issue that I've been having for years, right? And I had been complaining to multiple doctors about it. And it wasn't until I really, really stood on business in this particular doctor's visit that they then sent me to a radiologist. And I found out 3 years ago that I was diagnosed with a metabolic disorder, a disorder that is, it messes with your metabolism. And in a way, of course, it was very, it felt very upsetting, but it also I felt relieved, because a lot of the issues that I've been experiencing, I felt like there was a reason for them, some sort of reason that I couldn't control, and that it wasn't my fault. Like, it wasn't like me actively just like being lazy or just like not doing something. It was because I had been experiencing this issue this whole entire time, and that I just didn't know. Right. And so I will say that for a year, I was very deflated about it. I was depressed. I kind of ignored it, and I didn't really do much to kind of like help to treat the issue. But after that year passed, I literally decided, I was like, it's really time for me to figure this out, because if I'm going to live with this condition, and if I'm going to still do the things that I want to do and that I need to do, that I feel like God is calling me towards, then I'm going to take some action. And working out was the biggest blessing and the biggest change of my life. Being actually consistent in my fitness journey and taking control of my fitness journey was the biggest change in my life, that then allowed for me to then kind of counteract a lot of the effects that you feel from that disorder. And so for me, that was my bet on self moment. It was from me going from being this very busy, still very busy, kind of hectic person, right? But like this very busy, hectic person that was never making time for myself, to then saying, I'm going to stand on business about myself, and I'm not going to play about my gym. I'm not going to play about, my eating. I'm not going to play about like my health routines and habits, and really kind of centering myself, because if I don't sustain and pour into myself, I will not have anything to sustain. I will not have anything to work towards, because I will be depleting my own body and my own life. Right. And so really centering yourself is a radical act in every which way possible, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. I know that sounds cliche, right? But you literally cannot do whatever it is that you're being asked to do if you're showing up half empty, if you're showing up half tired, if you're showing up down on your luck, if you're showing up not feeling like your best self. You really can't do what it is that you're being asked to do, right? And if you do that, and if you are able to kind of successfully execute that because you're able to put on a show and be performative, you're going to go home and you're going to feel bad on the inside. You're going to go home and you're going to still feel down. You're going to still feel lost. You're going to still feel like you're searching, right? And so me centering myself and me kind of taking control of my narrative, of not letting this disorder kind of like control like me and tell me about all these thoughts about things that I can't do or whatever, right? It was me deciding like, no, I'm actually still going to be able to do those things, because then I'm going to do the self-care routines that's actually going to support me and my life habits. So that was my bet on myself moment, just really being serious about my fitness journey and my self-care journey.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's always a major one, a major bet on self moment. So you guys know Coach's Corner is always a reflection on the show, because we're literally right at time. I got a minute to give y'all this Coach's Corner. Imposter syndrome lies to you. It tells you that you don't belong, even while you're out here changing the game. Hold on.
The Urban Heat. Expect the unexpected. Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeart Station.
So your inner strength isn't loud, it's steady. It's built in the quiet moments when you choose you again and again and again. So I want you guys to make sure that you continuously challenge that inner self-talk, especially the ones that say you're not good enough. Find your receipts, look for your accolades, make sure your support system and your mentors are in alignment to keep you on track. And until next time, y'all keep on betting on self. Make sure you come back next week for another conversation and meet us right here on Conversations with Coach La for another episode, and meet us on the virtual couch. Lyrical Faith, thank you, sis. I'm gonna keep in contact with you and make sure you're back for one of my pole therapies here in Boston, and keep on betting on yourself and taking care of you. And I will be following you and listening to all your wonderful poetry, because you know that's what we do. We support each other.
Yes,
so everybody have a good night. And once again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Conversations with Coach La. Good night.
Peace.